Dr. Faiza Madam, for your warm welcome. So it's indeed a great pleasure, dear participants, meeting you once again. This time with a kind of, it's not that we'll say it's a new topic as such, it's going to be a kind of, I'm going to build upon whatever that we have discussed earlier in terms of digital learning, the different perspectives and points of view. So the other day, a couple of things, since for want of time, I could not touch in that earlier part, which I'll do first, and then go over to the open educational resources for this learning from home. Right? Today we have a scenario like work from home in the corporate world. We have learning from home, LFH, right? In our situation, we will discuss the role that open educational resources are going to play, and we will throw open all these screenshots I have brought, and I will share the PPT with Dr. Faiza Madam. In addition to the screenshots, a complete list of websites with some 70-80 websites, all open OER portals I will share with Madam. You can get a copy, and all these OER portals are multidisciplinary portals, that every teacher will have some content, some e-learning modules, some multimedia content available on their subjects, right? So that is the way that we are talking about. So none of these platforms that I'm going to talk about will invite you to pay any money or do a registration. So it is that type of thing. So without spending much of the resources, institutional or personal, right? We can go about making this digital learning possible with the help of free and open source platforms. So that is the plan of action. So I'll just quickly go over to this particular digital learning. A couple of things which I missed to point out, or for want of time I had to push through. So that part I will, it is this where we stopped, right? I just had to move the slides faster here. So the second generation web technologies, Web 2.0 technologies. So I would just start sharing my. The Web 2.0 technologies, that is the second generation web technologies and tools. In this session also, I'm not going to talk anything about these things because, only in a workshop like environment, we can give you some hands-on and demo with regard to how to work with these platforms. But only one thing I would like to impress upon all of you is that any of these technologies, tools that I have mentioned here, this is an open source image. It is available in a website. You can get it downloaded. And I'm also going to share this PPT with the HRDC, so you can get a copy. So any of these technologies and platforms that I have mentioned here, one thing I can guarantee is that they may not take more than 10 levels of intelligence and the already pre-existing ICT skills with you may not take about more than a week for you to explore, right, these portals and self-learn these things. I would tell you that, in fact, if you are willing, you are most welcome to join one of our workshops. We have MOOCs and OER sometime in our HRDC, where we are going to make all afternoons as hands-on sessions, demo sessions. There will not be any talking, only each candidate has to work. It is that type of a program we have planned. And our education technology department, we have conducted several hundred workshops like that. So that can be happen, but even otherwise, any of you can learn any of these things quickly over a period of about 1 week's time or 10 days' time, provided you spend about half an hour to 45 minutes every day with these platforms. All these are open source, right? You want to, for instance, you want to go for some e-portfolio for your students, okay? So our campus portfolio, then you're going to download that and app and install it and work on it. It is going to tell you. You see, before starting to create portfolios, you should have these things. Students' names, register numbers, at least 2 test marks, like that, all these things. Then with all these things, inputs, if you're going to give, you will create a portfolio. That is how it has to be taken up, right? And I would say that if you want to learn these technologies faster, the best thing is that you should sit with your sons and daughters if they are in the school going age, because they will make you learn faster. They will tell you, come on, daddy, what is this? Click here, read the screen, properly. And why are you fidgeting here like that? They will make you learn faster. Because, for reasons well known, these technologies are reaching out to the student communities, the small boys and girls, right, much earlier. And they become more conversant with technologies and tools faster, right, than what we do. Because that hangover of the pre-digital era is there still with us, right? Okay. So I'm not only one domain I have taken, that is only the cognitive domain, and linked it with Web 2.0. So one more thing I wanted to speak to you about a little briefly is that I don't know whether there was any session on flipped model, but this is what is going to be there. You all would have read by now, the approach paper that the government has given on blended learning model that is going to be implemented in the days to come. They have come to a certain conclusion. If at all we are going to open our institutions, again, it is going to be a little different in the sense that we are not going to have a complete rollover to the earlier model. We are going to have a kind of a system where it will be blended, right, in the sense around 40% the teaching, learning, evaluation activities will be online, and 60% will be happening in the institutions in parallel batches. And though there are other, every government is working out a plan, right? All odd number students in the morning, all afternoons, even number students in the registered number students in the afternoon, or that's how they are planning. Many things are being worked out. Right, every state is saying that somewhere in the first week of September we are going to start our schools, and we are going to reopen the classes for the school kids, and we are working out the SOPs for that. So whatever is the case, this is something that we have started talking for the past few years, and is now coming up in a big way, the flipped model. And in the important feature of the flipped model, as you can see, is that it gets reversed. So what the students used to do inside the class, they will do at home, or in the hostel, or elsewhere outside the class. And what they used to do at home or hostel or back in their rooms, they will do inside the class. Okay, so that is the best thing. So before we go about, so what they do is that they in the class, students practice, right, and during the class, and then before that, students prepare to participate, and after that again they check their understanding and extend their learning. So I'm just trying to link it with that cognitive domain again. Right? For instance, if you take the basic cognitive domain, so on this side you see the traditional model, what happens? Remembering and understanding, right, happens inside the class, and then outside the class they go and apply, analyze, evaluate, create all these type of activity-based things they do outside the class. But in a flipped model, what happens is that understanding and remembering by listening to the lectures available in the YouTube channels, are available in the institutional repositories, the students pick up the skills of understanding, remembering outside the class. That let it be at home or let it be on the go. Maybe they are traveling in a school bus or college bus, right? And they connect to the website, the institutional website, and listen to a lecture before coming to the campus about the discussion that the teacher is going to hold. And inside the class, right, the teacher will not give a lecture because already the recorded video lecture has gone to the students. What lecture he or she would have done today, right, that has already gone to them. So they have already listened to that, right? Okay. So listening to the lecture will happen at home, and doing the activities like project or practicals or hands-on sessions, assignments, right, group work, right, these things will happen inside the class, where they will train themselves in all these higher order skills, right? This so-called lots and hots. We always talk about lower order thinking skills and higher order thinking skills. Right? And the 21st century work environment insists upon individuals with higher order thinking skills. Okay, and the success or failure is largely dependent on the amount of higher order thinking skills that our boys and girls possess. So this applying, analyzing, evaluating, creating these type of higher order skills, the students are trained, right, inside the class through a lot of well-designed activities. Right, so that the teacher spends more one-to-one time with the learner, okay, and individualizes his or her attention to the differences in the learner's capacities and styles. Okay, so ultimately, in my view, as a teacher, if I am going to practice flipped model, what I am going to get at the personal level is that I am going to get more time to interact with my students. Because when I go in a conventional model, face-to-face model, I get into class by 10 o'clock, 10:05, my attendance taking is over, right? for 10 minutes I do some pep talk, and 10:15 to 10:55 I go ahead with my class, right? Okay, it's a structured presentation. Then the last minute, a few minutes of interaction and come out. Okay, so what happens is that it becomes a one-to-many class. It rarely it becomes one-to-one, right? Communication setup, right? But in a flipped model, it will be reversed, right? In the sense that the recorded video is there for them. They will like interact with that content, and they come prepared, right? With a lot of questions, with a lot of interaction with fellow students, peers, and the teacher, right? Okay. And how it happens is that in the traditional model, how lecture happens, right? All students come together and teacher stands here. And here, homework activities used to be sitting alone and doing it. But here, the listening to lecture will be sitting alone. The boy or a girl will sit alone and listen to that. And classroom activities will happen in a different way. And look at the seating arrangement itself, how it happens is, right? In a conventional classroom, the teacher is the front and one after the other rows are put. But in a flipped model class, the classroom arrangement itself is different, right? Okay. So that hierarchy is broken. And this is again the Bloom's taxonomy, revised taxonomy, plotted against the flipped model. So the pre-classroom content will promote the remembering and understanding, and the activity-based learning models, right? Now the classroom activities will take care of all these things. This is because the psychology of learning has proved time and again through a lot of researchers that when students are involved in activities that promote learning, that learning is more efficient, more effective, and the retention is longer. The effect of the learning is long lasting. Okay, all these things. But unfortunately, in a conventional model, we are not in a position to truly implement activity-based learning. Because what will happen in an institution, if all teachers start practicing activity-based learning, the entire campus will become very noisy, which the principal may not like. Okay, right? That's how. Because when students start interacting, sharing, right, debating about a topic, suggesting something, why not we do like this, okay, brainstorming certain ideas, right? It becomes a noisy class, right, which is not a practical one in a conventional model, right? Okay. So this is the thing that I wanted to talk about. This something, the 3-4 slides which I missed the other day. So with this, I close this and go over to my presentation on this today's topic, OER. Okay. I will just see how we can go about doing this technology-mediated education with the help of OER, Open Educational Resources. Okay. And I think the other day I was making a point about the open, the word open. Okay. OER for learning from home. This is now a big concept, right? It's coming up in a big way. Right? Somebody's putting some messages. I see. Yeah, Sanjok. Yeah, you can unmute and speak, sir. If you have anything, right? Otherwise, I'll go ahead with the. Yeah. So the OER. The other day, I was making a small point. That is, this within the OER, the word open stands for at the first level, any content, those electronic digital resources which are available for free access, free use, free download, free editing, modification, and free sharing. Okay. So with regard to open educational resources, any one of us related to any subject, right? If the content is open educational resource, if it is an open content, we can log into it, we can use it, we can download it, share it, edit and modify, okay, redistribute, right? Anything we can do, because nobody owns knowledge here. There is nobody as an owner of a knowledge. There is no copyright, you see. There is nobody who has having the copyright. Okay? So it's not that somebody claims that it is my knowledge. Okay? And how can you use it, right? The question of plagiarism at all is not at all there, okay? Because it is basically open content license. We will elaborately see this, okay? And you see, if you look at this basically, the word open is very important, right? I have just given you the different meanings that it can stand for. We will discuss that in the due course before going for the demo also, right? And any type of educational materials, right? For instance, which are in these two are very important, which are in the public domain and introduced with an open license. The most important things. There are a couple of mics are on, I think. Yeah. Some phone call and other things I hear. It will be good. Yeah. Somebody. Yeah. It is now. Sandeep Agarwalji, can you just mute your mic? Yeah. Okay. Right. Okay. It's not that big a disturbance anyway. So these two are the primary things related to open educational resource. That is content available in public domain. For instance, can anyone just tell me the college that you're coming from? Right? Anyone, please. Right? Lakshmi Saha, madam, can you just tell me which is your institution?
I'm from West Bengal, and my college is West Bengal. Sir.
Which college is yours?
So it's Bijoygarh Jyotish Roy College from Jadavpur, Kolkata.
Okay, right. Imagine, I'm sure your college has a website. Her college has a website.
Yes,
and
sir,
imagine during for managing this pandemic times, all teachers have been asked to prepare some lecture notes, PowerPoint slides in the content that they're dealing with in the particular units that they're handling for the students. And the web admin or the computer science head of the department collects all these things and uploads in the website, so that the students can have access to these contents without coming to the campus. And you see, the college website of Dr. Lakshmi Saha madam is a public domain. Why is it a public domain? Because it is not open only to the college students who are studying there, who have paid the fees there. For instance, if I want to get into the website, it cannot stop me. And if I want to download one of the PowerPoint slides prepared by Dr. Lakshmi Saha, I can do that because it doesn't know that I am not a student of the institution. Though there are methods where only entry with the help of with the registration number or something like that can be made. I will talk about that also a little later. But most of these contents are made available in open platform, in the sense that anybody can get in and get the benefit of it. It's a public domain. And I will talk a little more about this open licensing a little later, right? So the advantage of this open educational resource is that anyone can copy, use, adapt, and reshare. All these things we can do it free of cost, legally. That is what the most important word. For instance, we can do this copying, using, adapting, and resharing free of cost in a copyright material also, but that becomes illegal. Okay? For instance, when you buy a book from Routledge or Kogan Page or some Springer, you pay 2,500 rupees for that book, and your scholar wants a copy. The scholar, your research scholar, may be a poor guy, right? So with a view to helping the boy or a girl, you give the book and say that you take a copy. That's illegal on your part to do that, and that's illegal on the part of the student to do that, right? Because that 2,500 rupees you have paid is only for one user, for your reading alone, right? So that is why, in the libraries, it becomes a different thing. A same book, right, which we supply to a library, it becomes a library copy. It's different, right? So that is why, but with regard to this open content, all these things we can do, and the doing of all these things becomes legal, right? That's very, very important, right? And there is a quote here, you can all read, and there are two people's picture here, right? I'm sure you would know these people. Otherwise, you should find out, right? I'm not going to tell you who these people are, okay? I think you can all guess, I think, right? Okay. Yes, can anyone just guess who are these people?
Founders of Wikipedia, I guess.
Yes, exactly. That's a very shrewd guess, sir, and right guess also, right? Maybe the names you may not quickly recall, but I request you to kindly go, right, back home in the afternoon, right? Sorry, already we are all at home, right? Okay. So to just verify and remember these people, right? These people, I'm not again giving the names. I request you all to go in Wikipedia itself, and you will find, right? Okay. So the founders of this Wikipedia, this is what we said, that they said, that is giving free access to the sum of all human knowledge, right, to every single person, right, without any money, right? So that is what is the point here. But of course, when we talk about wikis, which are editable content, there are other things that come in. We will discuss that also a little later. Okay, so the OER mantra, right, that I started talking about with these two guys of Wikipedia, right, is that world's knowledge is a public good. Okay, that is a basic thing. That is, for instance, we have public roads. Okay, and do we seek permission from anybody to use it? Or otherwise, can anyone stop us from using the public road? We say, no, it is my road, right? It is my government's road. I have paid the road tax for that. Unless the government, for some security reason, wants to stop it, nobody can stop, because it is a public domain. It's a public road. Similarly, the entire world's knowledge should be made available to common people, like a public road given to them for free access. And everyone shall have equal opportunities, equality in educational opportunities. So this is what we say, right? For instance, why I was earlier mentioning about institutional websites, where some institutions, they put a kind of a lock symbol. You might have seen, I will come to that also a little later. You may see when you open in some institutional website, some college website, some university website, some content will be there, some report will be there. And when you want to click open or download, it will say that, it is accessible only to the students and scholars of this institution. If you are a student of this institution, enter the register number. Okay. So that is the practice with regard to the copyright materials, proprietary content. Right? There is something called proprietary content, where somebody owns that knowledge and he or she becomes the proprietor. Proprietary content and open source content. Right? This content is open source content, where everyone has the opportunity to use, reuse, and share in any number of times, reusing and sharing. And with regard to education, the basic components like the content, the most important, the bread and butter of the education system, especially in this type of an online web-based learning environment, is the content, electronic content made available. And then tools for teaching. The teachers also should be given some free tools, right? For instance, your Google Meet is a free tool, right? Am I right? Right? For instance, if you go to your Wikimedia, or if you go to Wiki Educator platform, you are given some 5 GB space to conduct classes online before all this Google Meet and other things came. Right? Okay. So similarly for the students, right, giving access to certain tools and software for learning and research also, right? For instance, our research scholars, before going to the librarian to check their plagiarism level, they do it with a free software. If they subject it to some Viper or something like that, that checks the plagiarism and gives you a report. Yes, this much of content is similar content is there, similarity index is there. Okay, so that before submitting to the official plagiarism checker, they can adjust their content, they can modify their content. Like that, the tools for teaching, learning, and research, right? This is the basic idea to do. And then, with regard to the open content license, I will come to that Creative Commons licensing a little later before starting the demo. There are we say that the 5 R's of the open content license. Okay, it is very simple. Right, when a content is licensed, right, as open content, along with the license, these 5 R's come to the individual who has created it or who is using it. One is the right to retain, right, the right to make, own, and control copies of the content. For instance, as a teacher, right, you create a content, you create a PowerPoint slide. Okay, maybe you give voiceover for that also, so it becomes a narrated PowerPoint. Okay, available as a video file. And you upload it on YouTube, right? And anyone can have access to. And that doesn't mean that you have lost control over it. The content is available with you, and you have the right to make or own or control the copies of the content. At any time, you can withdraw it. At any time, you can share it with people, right? So the full control of the content lies with you. But the only thing is, the full control will not be with you alone. Others also will have the control. So if your students are watching that video and they find it interesting, so another college friends are there, so they can share it with them also, right? Okay, so that sort of thing. And the right to reuse, right? So you can use it in a class, in a study group, on a website, in a video, right? Nobody is going to ask you, right? You have already put up this content as a PPT. Why you are using it again as a video? Nobody can ask you, because it is your content after all. And you are at liberty to publish it as a paper, as a text content, as a video file, in any form. and then the right to revise, right? Because again, the content is yours, the script was written by you, the thought process is yours, right? You can adjust, modify, or alter the content, or translate the content in another language, right? Maybe the images and other things remain the same. Only the voiceover is given in your vernacular, mother tongue, right? It is possible, right? Okay. So all these things, and then remix. Now it is possible to remix the content also. For instance, I will give a small example. Imagine there is a chemistry teacher here, and she is looking for some good quality multimedia content on YouTube channel about some concept in chemistry, maybe chemical bonding. Okay, and she identifies 2-3 videos, very good, right? Well suited for her UG classes, for her first year UG students or second year UG students. And that one video that she downloads is very good in terms of the content and delivery, everything. But she thinks that the last part of that video can be little better. It can have a little more examples or some more additional inputs on about the application or analysis side. So that is the thinking that she has. But whereas she sees another video where the first part may not be good, but the last part, the additional inputs about the chemical bonding part, the last 2-3 minutes, that video content is very good. Okay, so what she thinks is that if this first part of this video and the last 2-3 minutes of that video, if that is together given to the students, it will lead to holistic learning. If you think that if both are open content, you have the liberty to download both the videos, cut the first 5 minutes from the first video and the last 3 minutes from the second video, put it together and launch it again on YouTube as a new video. And that becomes your video. Okay, that is not somebody else's video. This new video is yours. Okay, so that way it can be, the content can be mashed up into a new file, right? All these things are possible. And redistribute, right? Again, share copies, right? Your own content, your revisions, your remixes, right? All these things are possible, right? Okay? But with copyright material, all these things are not possible. Please understand. When you buy a printed book, or when you buy an e-copy, a Kindle version of a book, right? By paying 500 rupees on Amazon or Flipkart, right? So what you are at liberty to do is only to read it yourself on your Kindle account. You cannot give the device to somebody else and ask them to read it. It is, of course, it is not that rigorously implemented, I will say. The IPR, the intellectual property rights norms and rules are not that very vigorously implemented. Only in cases where it becomes a legal issue, all these things come into there. Otherwise, buying a CD-ROM of film music and even public performance in a temple or in a function, playing it also is not permitted, because it will, if you go through that conditions, it will say that it is for your personal entertainment. It is a personal music entertainment. You can listen to it and only in your CD player, only in your DVD player, or your personal entertainment devices only, right? That's what they say, right? Okay. So now, with regard to the research content, that is, the database, the data sets, or the research literature available in the form of journal papers, right, and other things, reports and other things, there are some colors associated with that. You might have seen all these symbols, that the lock symbol, open or closed, and other things with these colors. Right, these are all actually part and parcel of that common license. I'll throw a little light in the next slides, a few slides, right? Okay, and they have some meaning attached with that, right? For instance, blue is, right, the content that you can archive it. Archiving here means downloading it and storing it in your desktop PC or tablet PC or your pen drive. Okay, so these can be archived post-print but not pre-print. After the print version comes, you can archive it, but before the print version comes, you can only read the content online. You cannot archive it. Okay, and green means, right, both pre-print and post-print, you can archive it. You can download it and store it in a system. Nobody is going to ask. Okay? Yellow means archiving is allowed pre-print but not post-print. For instance, this happens with e-papers. For instance, if you are a regular reader of the Hindu, right, e-paper, you can read the e-paper. That means today, 17th, at least 6 hours before. It is 11 o'clock now, right? Or even 8 hours before. somewhere around 2 a.m. Or 2:30 a.m., the online version will be released. Okay, and you can log in and read. But you can archive it, right? Preprint. But you cannot archive it after the print version comes out. That means by 5 o'clock, the paper comes to the market and everybody, it's come for itself. After that, you cannot do it. And for white, right, it is absolutely no archiving pre or post print. This is how the color code goes with it. I request you to kindly tell your research scholars to be very careful about all these things. They keep working. The research scholars keep working for 2.5 years. They keep on downloading a lot of materials, right? And at the end, they put here and there, right, into their research report. And when they subject to Urkund plagiarism report, it will say 34%. And it will say 286 citations, all similarity index is there, because they don't understand these dynamics, okay, how it has to be done, right? Okay. And this is that licensing authority, Creative Commons, right? This is the website, right? The screenshot of that. And this is I'm sure all of you have seen this symbol, CC, with a white round over it. Normally it will be in the black color, right? Okay, this is a website, they have given different coloring. Otherwise, it will be always that inside darkness will be black and white round will be there around, and inside you will see 2 small C's, CC, Creative Commons. That means anywhere you see this content, this symbol, it indicates that it is open content. That means it is licensed to be open content, that without anybody's permission, you are at liberty to download, use, and share. All these things are possible. There are some shades of meaning that go with it, right? This is it, right? So Creative Commons licenses, whether it is copying and publishing, right? Attribution required or not required, and can you use it for commercial purpose, right? Imagine you are downloading some images for preparing a multimedia content, and can you sell that multimedia content to an e-learning company, right? What type of thing you can use it like that, right? And permission for modifying, adapting, right? All these things, CC by SA, CC by ND, and other things, right? And you see here this color code also, right? So when it is red, you can use the word commercially, right? So even you can download the image, right? Use it, and if somebody is asking you, if somebody is ready to pay money for that video content or the lecture you are giving, right? You can collect money, right? There it will not be viewed as something illegal, right? Like that, this symbol, I think you can take a screenshot, or when I give you, you can take this slide. This will give some idea as to how these symbols, what they stand for, and how we can handle these content a little carefully, so that we will not get into the problems of IPR. Probably you know that today every university is supposed to have an IPR cell as per the Ministry of Education's order, okay? And they are supposed to process all matters related to IPR, intellectual property rights, okay? In fact, the university professors' intellectual property rights have to be safeguarded and protected, and at the same time, they have to conduct a lot of training programs to research scholars and teachers about all the nuances that go with the IPR. Okay, that's how it is, right? So coming to, it is about 11:36:37. So I think I'll have a little more time to show you some of the screenshots and discuss the different OER available for learning. I am not, the disclaimer here is that I am not going to focus on the OER for research. Okay, the electronic resources for research, I am not going to focus, because that's for 3 hours or even 4.5 hours, we can go on and on with regard to e-journals, free open source journals, open source books, and other things. We can keep on talking database and other things. But broadly, the available OER are of these types, basically starting from text content, e-books to e-journals, e-thesis and dissertations, electronic thesis and dissertations, ETD, open access databases, digital libraries, courseware, right? Complete courseware. I will show you all these things, the screenshots I have brought. And the list of the websites, the screenshots I have got, I will share again as a Word file. You can easily copy and paste those links and go there and say explore. Online, offline learning tools. Some are online tools, some are even downloadable software or platforms and applications. Even offline, they can be used for learning by the students and facilitation of learning by the teachers also. and subject gateways, right? We have something, we'll discuss that also. And thousands and thousands of video lectures, simulations, interactive content for learning, quizzes, even for testing. Because when we talk about these things, it should not be viewed as something like only teaching, learning, and research is taken care. Even for testing and evaluation, we have lots of quizzes, practice tests, online assessment tools, okay? And even we have lots and lots of search engines and meta search engines, right? Okay? And now I think by now you understand that this open educational resources, the phrase OER does not refer only to the contents, okay? It also it refers to the other services. For instance, when you take a journal paper to Viper platform and submit it for a plagiarism check, it is a service that the Viper platform provides you. So it analyzes your paper and gives you a report, okay, free of cost. Whereas, of course, universities, libraries also provide that. They make use of it, right? But Urkund is a platform which UGC has given, and UGC has purchased it by paying several hundred crores, right, for the entire country. But without a single payment, either by you or by your institution or by the government, a Viper platform, it's an open source platform, no need to create any account, nothing. You go, right, you submit a paper and generate a plagiarism report. It does it. It's a service. So that also comes under OER. And when you say it is search engine, it is a service that it provides. So service providers also come under OER, and even software tools, okay, applications, gadgets, right? All these things also come under resources, because the word resources is not restricted only to the content. It is also it also encompasses under itself, right, the resource, the services, and the other hardware or software components. For instance, there is a tool, a software for preparing timetables, okay? But preparation of a timetable is a cumbersome process sometime in an institution, right? Because some papers will be shared by 2 people, more people, practical people will be there, and non-major elective papers, some by external department people will come, right? So you have to give all the data, you have to give all the options, right? And ask the software to generate a timetable. It will give you 3 options, A, B, C. You can choose which one you want, right? So a kind of a freely downloadable software. So that is also an open educational resource. Okay. So that is how we will look at the concept of OER in terms of its different types. And starting from the libraries, digital libraries, because the OER Commons is the mother body, right, for this Creative Commons licensing, open educational resources, commons platform, oercommons.org. So don't bother about making note of this web portals and the URL. I'm going to share this, I'll show that once where the session is over, during the interaction time, I will show that list so that you will, when you get there, you will understand how to work with it. So this is the OER Commons. You see, it's a public digital library of open educational resources. So you see, explore, create, and collaborate with educators around the world to improve your curriculum. So plenty of contents are available. Then you can search subject-wise, education level-wise, whether it is school or collegiate or UG or PG or postdoctoral, right? And what standards you want, right? Okay, all these things you can use the filters, right? And get to the content exactly what you are looking for, okay? So this is one petal which you can see. And this particular thing, I want all of you to just see when you find time, right? Or you have to find time and see, right? Okay. Library of Congress. And it is the digital library completely funded by the American government, okay? And one particular thing I want you to focus is that you see here, there is a search option. I have purposefully taken a screenshot with by clicking that drop-down menu here. You see, what are the things available here? What are the contents available? What are the different types of contents available here? You see here, audio recordings, books and printed material, films and videos, legislations, manuscripts, mixed materials, maps, notated music, newspapers, periodicals, personal narratives, photos, prints and drawings, software and e-resources, web archives, web pages, 3D objects. For instance, if you want to have access to the screen of Aligarh Muslim University 10 years before. Now, they would have changed the whole platform, because 10 years before, the web technologies were so simple and weak. But now we have very advanced software, so the media platforms like Dreamweaver, Mongo, and other things. Though today's website pages would be totally different, but you want to have access to a particular web page of Aligarh Muslim University that existed 10 years before. So web archives also will be available. The early web pages, all these things. Right? I appeal to all of you to go and see, right, what types of contents are made available. I'm sure it will take at least a couple of days for you to explore and see what is the total size of content that is available on different topics, right? So if you choose audio recordings and then give something like Indian independence, so you will get at least 5 or 6 audio recordings of somebody, right, commenting about or talking about or giving a lecture about Indian independence. Okay, like that. And if you just click films and videos with the same such keyword, so you will see a couple of films and videos related to India's struggle for freedom or something like that. Okay, so similarly for photos, prints, drawings, and other things, right? So now let me go over with some classified way. For instance, I would just show you the categories that I have given here, so that you will understand how the screenshots one after the other I take. So do you see a new screen being shared?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
A
sir.
Word file? A Word file?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Yes,
web
sir.
resources for effective learning, teaching, and evaluation.
Yes,
So
yes,
I have listed
Yes,
about
sir.
2 pages. Yeah, and about the first 10 are all ebook platforms, and the second 10 websites are all audiobook platforms and blog platforms and blog creation platforms, podcasting platforms, and wiki spaces, and for videos, video lessons and e-content, virtual laboratories and interactive simulations, and digital libraries, including the LOC I have given here, and MOOC platforms, and some testing and evaluation tools and platforms. And the last but not the least, all Indian initiatives, right? Great things that India have done in this particular area, great strides we have made, I would say. And this is the way I'm going to take the demos, right? Okay. So am I back to my PPT now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
sir.
Yes.
right. So I've just chosen in each category 1 or 2 only at the maximum, right? Because this is something that we have to complete it in another 40 minutes time. So you can explore with the help of the list that I'm going to give, right? This is something, the Project Gutenberg, right? Okay. Why particularly for Project Gutenberg is because Project Gutenberg is the first e-book project of the world. Okay, the entire world's first digital book project is this Project Gutenberg. I think you can easily recall the guy. Gutenberg is the person who developed the printing press. Okay, though we have now gone for digital books, e-books, we want to honor that person, because it is because of him the concept of books and publication came. That's why we have named this project as Project Gutenberg, and it is very heavily funded by Bill Gates Foundation. And one of the largest collections of ebooks, I'll say. Don't go by the 60,000 number, because on a day I took the screenshot sometime earlier. Okay, that site was moving to a new domain. It was getting to a new domain. So see here, this is the new Project Gutenberg site. So that new website was not fully operational on that day, right? So I just took that screenshot. At that time, only 60,000 books were available, but the old site had several lakh books available. And they have migrated all these books to a new portal now. Just give gutenberg.org, that will go to a new website, the latest website of Project Gutenberg, and with all interactive features. And you have multiple options like searching and browsing. Okay, so you have very, very convenient classifications they have done. For the sense, if you choose A, B, C, D will be there. A, right? Arts, right? Or animal, right? Books related to animals. Then, again, subcategories, you will say animals in brackets, domestic, animals, wild, right? And like that, specifically you can go to that particular thing. Okay. So like that, it's very easily structured and beautiful content. They keep on updating because of the heavy funds available to them. They keep updating their database very frequently, right? Maybe in less than a week's time, you will see new books getting into it. It will just keep on, the number will be increasing, right? Okay. So this is with regard to Project Gutenberg. And this is one example of a platform for audio books. As I told you, the second category of the OER that I wanted to expose you to is the audio books. Yeah. Audiobooks, I hope you can easily guess what the meaning is. It's a book in the form of an audio file. And if you go to a platform like learnoutloud.com, you see audiobooks are available. And even this one, the third, the horizontal menu, you see free stuff. Okay. You will see plenty of books. Of course, this is a portal where you have a mix-up of content. Some will be paid contents also, right? So here some bestsellers and things will be there, right? For instance, the autobiography of Benjamin Franklin is there. Something like Fahrenheit 451, The Way of Peace, or the Secret by Rhonda Byrne. All these things are there, but they're available for sale. But under free stuff, you will have plenty of books available for free access. And another mechanism that learnoutloud.com does is, whatever content is available for free now, you log in after 15 days or 20 days or 1 month, the same book will be available under free stuff category. That is how they go. Because when they upload a book for paid download, maybe they will fix a kind of a count. The moment it completes the 10,000th download, it becomes free stuff, like that. Okay. So because they want to add more books in the free stuff, only then people will come to the site. Okay. So that is the idea. And the wide ranging subjects and domains you will have. See, arts and entertainment, biography, business, education and professional, history, language, literature, philosophy, politics, religion, science, self-development, social science, technology, travel. You name it, they have it. Any discipline for that matter. Okay. And I'm sure you understand. I don't know how many of you are in the habit of listening to audiobooks. I appeal to all of you to practice that and also give that practice to your sons and daughters as well as your students, because listening to a book is a different experience. And by continuously listening to some content being delivered in the audio track, the registry of the content in the mind happens at the subconscious mind. Okay. So without much of efforts. For instance, maybe when you listen to a song, maybe 15 years back, it might have come. Okay, a song from Ashiki, right? Or 1947, a love story, some good song, interesting, very beautiful song, a melodious song. Okay, and you start singing along with it. Not that you sat and memorized that song. But in those days, these songs were continuously being played in radio, television, tea shops, hotels, everywhere. And unconsciously, you were continuously getting that content registered. So after 15, 16 years, 17 years, 20 years, when that music starts, you also start singing with it. So that is the power of this audio. And books are available. As such, audio books are available. A 200 or 300 page book. From cover to cover, it will be read out by a person in a very professional voice, and it will be converted into a book. It is something like the same, preparing a content page, introduction, second chapter, third chapter, like that. When they click open, the introduction chapter starts playing. That's how it is, right? They listen to that. And a very simple technology like audiobook technology comes with a lot of interactive features. For instance, the student will be in a position to choose many things. That's what is interactive features. For instance, maybe there is a computer science teacher here. And one very latest book published by an American IT specialist is available for free access here. Then she or he has a problem. Sir, how do you think my boys will understand the American English that this guy speaks? Right? So it's a little tough. But what happens in an audiobook is that the book is by an American author, but the listener or the user will have the option to choose Indian, British, American, options will be there. He chooses Indian, that book will be read out in an Indian English, okay? Because the pre-recorded audio will be available in Indian, it will change, that conversion will be done, okay, automatically. And the student or the user can choose whether the reading should go in a male voice or female voice, okay? So if he chooses mixed, maybe the first paragraph will come in male voice, second will come in female voice, it will keep changing, providing a variety, right? And if the student just tick marks, right, that the checks that BGM, there will be a BGM, that's called background music. Then, a mild musical background will go behind the reading, and it will give a pleasant experience of listening, right? Like that, a lot of interactive features are made are given to the students to make that listening experience better. Okay, so such interactive features, that's what I would like to say. Okay?
It's so interesting, sir.
Right, that's fine. Right. In fact, nowadays I see these audio books are coming out in the vernacular also, in Tamil, Malayalam, right, Telugu, Hindi, right. Books are novels, and some literature content is made available as audio books and made available for free download also. Stories, even for that matter. And the interesting part is I have recently listened to some kids stories. And the story is about thunder, lightning, and in the background all the noise is there, the thunder, the lightning, the fast windy movement, all these things, right? So giving a realistic experience, that is the thing. And the next category I put in this, it's a kind of blogs. I think all of us know that blogging, academic blogging is now, it's not now, almost for the past 7-8 years have gained a lot of importance. We say that there is an academic blogosphere available, right? Over the hemisphere. There is a blogosphere, academic blogosphere available. That means so many teachers across the globe, especially the Western university and college teachers, have put up lots and lots of their teaching learning materials in their personal blogs, right? Because in those days, institutional blogging was not that popular. So they took to individual personal blogging, and they put a lot of content there. Then this is not a blog platform. This is not anybody's blog. It is a different thing. I'm coming to that. For instance, you have put up some content here, right? Some of you, right? So Hiran Patel ji has created a blog, right? And Balwant Kumar ji has created a blog, right? And Rehana madam has created a blog. And Ritu Sri Sengupta has created a blog. And each one would have put up content related to their subjects. Am I right? Right? So the question is, how the students will come to know what Rehana madam's blog contains about, right? So this is a type of a portal, bloggeries.com, globeofblogs.com, right? Blogorama.com. These portals, which I have listed there, they are actually directories of blogs. You know what a directory is? A directory is a collection of something arranged in a particular order. For instance, your telephone directory, right, is a collection of telephone numbers arranged in a categorized way, right? All names starting with A or B, right? Like that, okay? On bloggeries.com, what you will get is the entire world's blogs you will get here available in different categories. For instance, if you go to education, right, you will get all blogs related to teaching, learning, and evaluation. And then there will be filters there. There will be, categories will be there. School level, collegiate level, research level. You choose collegiate level, then again it may ask UG or undergraduate or postgraduate. Then after choosing postgraduate, again filters you can put, like humanities, arts, social science, or sciences. Then after choosing science, again, you can choose botany or zoology or mathematics, right? When you choose zoology and search, what happens on bloggeries.com, you will get is all the blogs across the globe which have content related to zoology. Okay? So all the zoology teachers' blogs you will get access to. And when you click open one blog, it will have 10 pages, 15 pages, it will have videos, it will have PPTs, it will have downloadable PDFs. Like that, the students can go on exploring that. Okay, so that is the way these directories will help you. right, in reaching out to the teaching learning materials made available by the experts, teachers, scientists, okay, all right across the globe, right, okay. And this one will help you to create a blog for yourself. And I think you all by now should have started blogging, academic blogging. Otherwise, at least before the third wave starts, and once again we restart our online classes, it's better that you start a blog for yourself. And starting a blog on a platform like WordPress.com may not take more than 15 minutes at the maximum, I would say, right? May at the maximum 15 minutes. So what do you do? Step one, you have some electronic resources for uploading, okay? Maybe some PDFs, some PPTs, or some downloaded videos or audio lectures, something in the form of electronic content, if you have it. And then go there, create, it is like creating an email ID, because .wordpress.com will already be there, okay? You don't do anything there, okay? For instance, if, may I know what is Dr. Rehana Madam subject? Can you unmute, Ma? Can you just unmute and tell me?
Sir, English.
Okay, that's fine, right? So Rehana Madam wants to have a blog in WordPress.com. So when she logs in and chooses create a blog, right? It will ask, what is the purpose of the blog? Are you going to talk about sports, cookery, health, or education? Some list will be given. Choose education. Then it will ask, select your domain name. Then she chooses English Rehana dot. Then WordPress.com is something that she cannot avoid, because WordPress.com is going to give you the space. They are going to give you 3 GB space. Otherwise, you have to spend at least 3,000 to 4,000 rupees for that. They are going to give you free of cost. So WordPress.com will be there. The site name will be www.englishrehana.wordpress.com. Okay, it will be there. Okay, and she chooses that, and it will check and say whether it is already somebody is using or it is available. If it is available, she can use. Okay, she can choose that and create a password. And immediately to the mail ID, there will be a verification link. And the moment she email verification is complete, it will say, congrats, Dr. Rehana, your website is ready for you, right? Okay. Then you can start posting content. That means posting the content. Any type of content, lecture notes, PPTs, videos, audio links, anything that she can upload on the blog, her blog, and it will go online 24/7. Any student can have access to that, right? So that is what is the thing. So she gets into the mode. So it will take less than 12 to 15 minutes, right? I would just tell you, it will take less than that for creating one, right? And of course, in the initial level, you have to give your URL that kindly, I am not giving the lecture notes to you. You come to my blog and download it from there, okay? englishrehana.wordpress.com. In the due course, anybody who goes there and searches for content, maybe as a teacher of English, she puts in some content related to some grammar, right? Or some writing skills, technical writing, right? Or something related to spoken English, right? Okay. Something related to the reading skills, okay? So she has put in. So somebody is searching in Google, right? How to enhance my reading skills, how to enhance my reading speed, right? If she has put up some material related to that, and that's her website also will come in the Google search, okay? But initially, because what Google does is Google picks your site only based on the number of clicks already it has received. If more number of people have already visited your website, then it will pick. Otherwise, it will not choose, because it will be there. Your website also will be there in the Google search, maybe in the 40th page. Okay, first 20 or 30, it will not come. It will be there in the 200 or 300th position, right? Okay, based on the number of people who have already visited your website. Okay, but if it comes to the first 20, then you are a big person in the field. That's what I will say. If Google puts your site in the first 20, that means so many people have visited your website. You are a big person in the field, right? That's what I would say, right? Okay, so this is something for you to think over. I have listed that also, and I have given another portal also. Like if you are already a Google user, you can easily create a blog, much easier compared with going to WordPress, is using Blogger. Okay, because Blogger is very much there in the Google menu itself. In the Google menu itself, you can access that Blogger platform. I'll show you that when I complete this, right? Okay. So this is for the another thing. Next to blog is the most popular Web2 tool. Web2 technology is podcast. Podcast is don't go deep into all these etymology of the word and all. iPod and broadcast put together, podcast like that. Don't go deep into all that. It is very simply a multimedia file, an audio video multimedia file available on any topic under the sun. You need not go to any portal like this. Even you can do it in Google. Just give any keyword. I'll do that for you, right? Maybe when you go to your Google search, right? So you just give something like this, right? Okay, I'll give something because I was talking to English teacher. I'll say something like The Solitary Reaper. I'll choose one poem, okay? The Solitary Reaper plus, right, podcast. Okay, I give this. And you see here, 160,000 results have come, right? Okay, audible.com. Audible.com is a very popular site, Solitary Reaper podcast, right? You can download that. And right, 50 seconds, right? What is this podcast all about? There is something about podcast, the Solitary Reaper, right? So many, right? Listen Notes, another good website for downloading audio materials, right? The Solitary Reaper podcast, open Spotify, right? So like this, you see Podomatic. Podomatic is another podcasting platform, right? So even it is available on Ghana.com, okay? So it's actually Ghana.com is a song, it's a cine song platform, but it has so much of contents available. So when you download the podcast, right, it is going to be a virtual experience of a solitary reaper, okay? A Highland girl, right, reaping and binding by herself, right, and the poet listening to the song. All these things will be in the form of a video, okay? So that's how it is, right? But this portal that I have purposefully shown you is just to highlight that CC symbol, okay? This is the best of podcasting platforms, University of Oxford's podcasting platform. And you see here, again, it is related to English, interestingly, right? You see here, there is something called Staging Shakespeare and Shakespeare's first folio. And this is where you should understand, you see, there is something called Poetry with Simon Armitage. This is not CC symbol. You don't see CC symbol here. That means the admin has purposefully put a restriction there. Why? Probably because that may be a part of an ongoing session there. Okay, already some sessions are going on, and this particular short video or audio clip may be a part of that. So if somebody from outside who has not earlier listened to the first part goes there, he or she may not find it useful. That is why they have made it as a closed entry one. It is not open for everyone. So when you click open this Poetry with Simon Armitage, it may ask you, right, are you a student of Oxford or any of the affiliated colleges? If yes, enter your number or something like that, right? Whereas the CC symbol content, right, Staging Shakespeare, Shakespeare's first folio, anyone can download. For instance, if you click on Staging Shakespeare, maybe you get some 20 lectures delivered by the so-called Oxford professors on Shakespearean drama, right? You can download that and use it for your PG classes, okay? Nobody is going to ask you. So your students, your UG students, your PG students are going to get nothing less than the Oxford lectures on Shakespearean drama. See, I will not say, of course, I don't choose to say that Dr. Rehana cannot give that type of a quality lecture. But after all, she can expose her students, PG students, to an Oxford professor's talk on Shakespearean drama, which is nothing less than the horse's mouth. Because, anybody else talking about Shakespeare and Oxford people talking about Shakespeare is totally a different ball game, So that is what is the point here. So when there is a possibility of exposing our boys and girls to such world-class learning content through these open source platforms, we should exploit that to our benefit. That is the point here. Okay. And this is wiki platforms. Wiki, I'm not particularly talking about Wikipedia, because Wikipedia is one thing that all of us know, all our students know, but most students stop with using Wikipedia. But please understand, there is Wikimapia, Wiktionaries, Wiki dictionaries, right? Wikimedia and Wiki books. You see the slogan here, open books for an open world. So the world is so open. So let our books also be open. Why the books should be closed in the shells of people that you have to get the permission, you have to put an entry. So it is available for anytime, anywhere access. And the one of the most important aspects of the wiki content is that it is editable content. So continuous upgradation of quality happens in wiki platforms. Somebody keeps on uploading the latest data, latest updates. So those who read wiki books will get to know the latest, right? But again, the content has to be always verified, and we'll have to verify with the wiki platform itself whether it is authenticated content or unauthenticated, right? Those things we have to, this is what we call as information literacy. This is one of the new age literacies. We should tell our boys and girls how they should find out the validity of the information, right? Available online, because that's why we call the web as an information superhighway, right? In a superhighway, you have everything flowing, right? So students should have that information literacy to verify, right? What type of content that I can use it authentically for my research work or for my publication like that, okay? And this is Khan Academy. I'm not again going deep into Khan Academy. I would appeal to you to see for yourself. But in fact, if you ask your son or daughter if they are in the 6th, 7th, 8th standard, I think they may be in a position to talk more than me or anybody else in Khan Academy, because most of the CBSE school textbooks, they have started linking Khan Academy videos with the QR code, that QR code technology in that printed textbook also, in the NCERT textbook also. When one lesson is over, at the end of the lesson, there is a QR code at the right bottom corner. So when they click on they scan it and take it to the portal, it immediately takes them to either Diksha platform or platforms, such international platforms like Khan Academy. Khan Academy, you see, for free, for everyone, forever. Okay, and the slogan, you see, you only have to know one thing, that is, you can learn anything. Right? Very beautifully created video lessons, mostly at the school level, right? Mostly, but some of them are at the undergraduate level also. But I appeal to you to go to Khan Academy, choose the subject. You see on the top left, right? You will see the subject list in the drop-down menu. All subjects will be there: physics, chemistry, botany, zoology, everything will be there. Management, commerce, business studies, like that. You choose your subject, go there, and content will be available. Just play anything at random and see the work they have done, right? So that you will understand why Khan Academy is so popular with the children in their learning, okay? And this, of course, works more with the school level content, mostly. And this is for higher education, I will say. Cosmo Learning. This is another, you see here, Cosmo Learning is a free educational website for students and teachers, okay? All contents are video contents here, okay? And you see here, aerospace engineering, agriculture, anthropology, architecture, astronomy, biology, chemical engineering, Chinese, civil engineering, communication, computer science, economics, electrical engineering, English language, entrepreneurship, environmental science. See, my screenshot has gone only up to environment, E. Then you see up to Z, zoology you will have, right? All these video lessons freely available for access, okay? And then this is MOOC platforms. I think in any FIP, you will have a separate session on MOOC, SWAYAM, and other things. So I'm not going deep into it, but there's Coursera and edX. These two are the world's most popular MOOC platforms. There is always a kind of a virtual war between edX and Coursera in terms of who is better, okay? Who is offering more courses, right? And most important thing that you should see is look at this bar. Pennsylvania State University, Johns Hopkins, Michigan, Stanford, Duke, San Diego, MIT, Harvard, Berkeley, Texas, right? Queensland, right? Now, this is a screenshot. Otherwise, if I just press this arrow mark, the next list will come, right? So the so-called the best of the best universities available in the world offer their courses to everybody under the sun at their doorsteps, at their fingertips, right? Through these MOOC platforms, massive open online courses, okay? Free of cost. Free of cost in the sense, mostly the courses are provided free of cost. Sometimes for verified certificate, they may ask you to pay some money like 2,000 rupees or 3,000 rupees. That means if you want to get a printed certificate with the seal of Stanford University delivered to your home through an international courier, you have to pay some 1,800 or 2,000 rupees for some courses, not all. But otherwise, If you choose not to pay, you will take the course, you will get all the contents, all the knowledge, skills, expertise, and also you will get the same certificate soft copy, right, freely downloadable from their website. So that is how they make it. And this is something right, before going to courseware. SWAYAM is the greatest achievement of the government of India in the recent past with regard to this, we all know, right? It is an indigenously developed MOOC platform for Indian students by Indian teachers with credit transfer policy. With the credit transfer system, the most important thing is when a student does a MOOC on edX or Coursera or Stanford or Texas University, the problem is that the credits earned by them, you cannot count it for their for their course content completion here. But whatever courses our students take and complete on SWAYAM portal, the 4 credits or 2 credits or 6 credits they earn through their online classes, they can transfer the credit to their respective colleges and get that thing. For instance, I'll give a small example. If in one college, if a student is there in BSc chemistry and second year, 4th semester, okay, there is a paper, something like polymer chemistry or pharmaceutical chemistry. And, if the student chooses to do that pharmaceutical chemistry, that core course, okay, as an online course, and if it is available on SWAYAM, he will register for SWAYAM and he will inform the college, the department, that for this particular course, I have registered in SWAYAM. Okay? And that means the student will be exempted from attending classes for that course in that respective institution. He will attend the classes directly with the SWAYAM portal, and the course provider may be sitting with the Central Leather Research Institute. Okay? And he may be in Ahmedabad, he may be in IGNOU, but all submission of assignments, lecture notes, every transaction with regard to that particular paper, the student will be doing only with that particular course provider. Finally, SWAYAM will conduct the examinations and the mark statement will be given with a mention of the credits, 4 credits. Then, giving a copy to the controller of examinations of the particular college gets the entire thing over. That means the student will be promoted going to the next semester, and that particular the consolidated mark statement will show SWAYAM code after this paper. That means the student has taken this course not in the institution but as an online course. And you see, the blended learning approach paper says that in the post-pandemic environments, in the upcoming next few years, the system will be designed in such a way that the students will be allowed to take 40% of the total credits. Okay? If it is UG 140 credits, means 40% of the credits the students will be allowed to take on SWAYAM portal. And it is enough if the student attends classes only for 60% of the credits. Okay? That's how SWAYAM is shaping up in a big way. And you can all join SWAYAM portal by providing courses, by being a course provider, right? That means you can offer a course online, right? And they are not asking you to do it free of cost, right? Because you have to work at least for 4 months, 5 months to become a course provider, right? They are giving you 13.5 lakhs, right, as a fund for the course that you are going to provide to SWAYAM portal. And another advantage is you get a major project. More than 10 lakhs means it is taken as a valid for major project for your career advancement. And across the country, so many thousands will learn from your course, not only your 40 students or 50 students. That's how it is, right? And this is MIT courseware, right? Okay, I'll just focus on some of the Indian initiatives after this and close. There is something called an open courseware. Open courseware refers to the complete bundle of the course content, starting from syllabus to question papers. Okay, syllabus, lecture notes, PPTs, recorded videos, okay, discussion threads, and the assignment questions and final test papers. All things together becomes open courseware. And MIT created this open courseware system several years back, some 20 years, 18 years, 19 years back. They are the pioneers in open course content development, open courseware producing. And they have made, for instance, in MIT campus, in the odd semester, if all teachers together have offered some 150 courses, All the 150 courses, starting from syllabus to question papers, will be archived and made available for open access. So any teacher from any part of the world can download the entire bunch as a zipped file, and here download it, unzip it, and use it for the entire semester and in your campus. And you can upload it in your college website. You can share it in your blog, social media platforms. MIT will never ask you because they have termed this as open courseware, right? OCW, MIT, ocw.mit.edu, right? Okay. And this is the next things I will quickly run through. These are the Indian initiatives. Please, I request you all to pay attention to this because the simple reason that there is a lot of public money, common man's money, taxpayers' money has been spent for these initiatives. And all these initiatives have been carried out keeping in mind the last student of the last village of our country. And the job of carrying this message to our student community, I think, lies with us. The responsibility lies with us, right? Okay, this is something National Digital Library. You see here, see the number here, search over 7,33,56,939 resources. You see here, a country like India making digital content, digitized content available to the tune of 7,33,56,939 resources. This is a little old screen grab. So today, if you go, a few thousands would have been added because there is a dedicated team at NDL, right, working for continuously uploading the digital content, right? And you look at the contents available, you see here so much of contents, engineering, science, humanities, literature, law, management, CBSE, school level, scholarly publications, data sets, even readily available data sets are there. If you imagine some economics professor is doing a kind of an analysis with the post-pandemic economic crisis with earlier post-cholera economic crisis that India faced, right? So several years back, 40, 50 years back, right? So maybe there is a data set available in the year 1940, 50 or so when the cholera came, right? Okay. How the pre-cholera, what was the economic condition, and post-cholera, what was the economic condition? How did they manage to come out of the crisis? Like that, it's possible, right? So data sets, documents, videos, journals, and conference proceedings, even ideas and funding options, right? All these things are available here, right? So like that, you can see this is NDL of India, ndl.iitkgp.ac.in. Okay, this is IIT Kharagpur is the host institution for this. You see, one library for all of India. Okay, and this is Sakshat, SAKSHAT, Sakshat portal. You see here, One India, One Digital Platform, right? So that is it. And you have so many e-initiatives for e-yantra, right? And plenty other things for school level, undergraduate level, postgraduate level, other online platforms, right? Plenty other initiatives. Sakshat is a kind of a single window to most of the e-learning and web-based educational initiatives of the government. And it did not start now. I would say that all these things started several years back. Even NMEICT is 10 years old, 11 years old now, right? So the seeds for such an expansion were shown long back, and we started working, right, towards all these things. And now, it is now full-fledged, it is made available, right? Okay. And I think if such initiatives had not happened, it would have been very, very difficult for us to go with this online learning and online teaching methods in this pandemic environment. Okay. And this is ePathshala. ePathshala is for school, NCRTs, and the National Council of Education Research and Training. And you have a similar one for higher education also. And there is a mobile app. Actually, keeping in mind your sons and daughters, I chose this screenshot. You can give them a copy, right? ePathshala and access to e-resources, QR code based. I was mentioning to you, right? If there is a poem, The Solitary Reaper, there will be a QR code, and they click on it. They take them to the Diksha portal, where a beautiful video plays the entire poem of The Solitary Reaper. And if it is the poem Daffodils, right? The student will have an opportunity to see a daffodil flower, right? But unfortunately, in our country, right, no English language teacher has ever seen a daffodil flower because it is not there in India. But we keep teaching the poem, right? Okay. So that's how it is possible to give realistic learning experiences to the students. And this is ePG Pathshala. electronic postgraduate Pathsala. Okay, this is for all MA, MSc, MCom, MBA, right? ME, MTech, right? You have it's a vertical of the SWAYAM portal, and you have the ePathya and right Adhyayan for books for UG and PG courses, and it's a gateway to all postgraduate courses. You can click open all your content. For instance, if you choose arts or humanities or social sciences, right? Then you get MSc or MA Economics, right? Or MCom, and then 4 semesters of a PG program, 4 into 4 courses. So 16 courses will be listed, right? And you choose one course, right? If it is MA Economics, then you say international economics or agricultural economics or behavioral economics. And you know, the 5 units of the syllabus of the behavioral economics paper, that course, right, will be available in some 35 to 40 modules available in 4 quadrant model, right? With videos, with e-resources, with the discussion forum, and with self-check activities, right? The contents will be available, but here only PG content will be available. And this is for UG, right? Consortium for Educational Communication, right? This is for UG, right? All UG, Humanities, Arts and Social Sciences. And today, CEC, Consortium for Educational Communication, right, is the single largest provider of maximum MOOCs. 600 plus MOOCs are offered by a single organization, Consortium for Educational Communication. Okay, so they are doing a great work. They're in Delhi. They're a Delhi-based organization. It's an inter-university center of the UGC, right? Under CEC, there are 20 educational multimedia research centers. They're producing all the e-modules, e-contents, right? And they're making it available. And this is NPTEL, National Program on Technology Enhanced Learning. This is for all engineering, science and technology, all BE, BTech, okay, and BS programs, right? Here you find 9 IITs together, right, providing the courses, right, with all proctored examinations and certifications, right? It's also coming under the SWAYAM, and IIT Madras is the coordinator, and you can also provide a course. Need not necessarily be an engineering college teacher. A computer science teacher can provide a course to, even if you're working in a computer science department of an arts and science college, you can provide a course here. Okay, it's possible, right? And this is FOSSEE. FOSSEE is free and open source software for engineering education, right? So it's for all engineering, science and technology. You have open source software available. If you just click open all these different software, you will get it here, right? Okay. This is another initiative of the Government of India. And this is SWAYAM Prabha. I'm almost coming to the end in another 2 minutes, right? SWAYAM Prabha is a part of SWAYAM, but with a difference. What you get here is a web-based television channel network. It's a web-based television channel network, swayamprabha.gov.in. You will have 32 DTH channels, subject-specific channels, okay? For English and foreign languages, there is a dedicated channel. For Hindi and other Indian languages, there is a dedicated channel. For commerce, accountancy, economics, business studies, there is a dedicated channel. For maybe botany, zoology, and life sciences, there is a dedicated channel. 24/7, giving video lessons for access. And these video lessons get 4 times repeated. For instance, 10 o'clock to 12:30, 10 to 10:30, if there is a video lecture, right? And the students will be in the classes in their respective colleges. How they will get the benefit of it? So the same 10 to 10:30 video lecture with all multimedia graphics, animation work will come again in evening 4 to 4:30, night 9:30 to 10, or early morning again 5 to 5:30. So the student can choose, right, when he should have the benefit of that video lessons and content, right? This is SWAYAM Prabha, and this is Vidyamitra, the last one I want to share with you. This is a kind of a gateway to all open content that India has ever produced. Okay, you see your CEC content, EPGP content, ePathshala content, right? All these contents are made available in a single portal, that is Vidyamitra. Vidyamitra can provide access to all the, need not go to NPTEL site separately, need not go to CEC site separately. You can have access to all the contents in this single portal Vidyamitra. Okay, so that is something that I wanted to speak to you about, the available OER for teaching, learning and evaluation. And for assessment also, I have listed some of the things. You can explore Easy Test Maker, Hotpot and other things. If you go to easytestmaker.com, you can create every month 25 online tests you can create free of cost, right? And share it with the students, and they can take the test online, and into your inbox you will get all the answers, right? And you can do an e-correction and send it, right? So that way you can do it. So I just would like to thank you all sincerely, profusely, right, for your active participation. And you're most welcome to be in touch with me on my mail ID or also on my WhatsApp, right? I'll be happy to respond to any queries, clarifications with regard to any of the things that I have talked about, right? So without taking much of the time, it's 12:25. Maybe we'll have about a few minutes of interaction, discussion, and then call it a day, right? Okay. So thank
Sir,
you very much,
I-
everyone. Yeah.
Sir, I have one
Thank you,
question and one observation.
Yes, sir. Please, sir.
Sir, you talked about IPR, intellectual property rights, with reference to the sources that we are using. So I just want to know if we are using pirated website like Library Genesis or Pirate Bay and using those sources. Not I,
Yeah.
but my students, if they are using it. So if they are going for publication, will it affect somehow in a way legal, or that I also want to know. And the second thing is that this Digital Library of India, actually they have changed the entire interface, and now it is very difficult to download books. The way it was previously, it was quite easy interface, but now it has become very difficult to actually to find and download the books. Thank you very much, sir.
So that's fine, Dr. Hiran Patel ji. With regard to the students using pirated versions of all these resources and platforms, as long as there is nobody is racking it up, I think unnoticed it may go. But if Dr. Hiran Patel becomes a vice chancellor and somebody who has applied for it, right, creates an issue, then it is an issue, right? Because ultimately it is the guide who is signing in the certificate that it is an authentic work. So that is a problem. So we have to, I think that is why now, this research ethics is now a big thing. That's why I think now the UGC has made it mandatory. All MPhil students and PhD students should undergo a course on research ethics and publication ethics. Okay, so they talk elaborately about that, and we have to promote that, right? That's very important. And of course, this NDL, we have also written to that. Our librarian, I told the other librarian, kindly talk to this InflibNet people and ask them to talk to this IIT Kharagpur people to make it take it back to the earlier interface, so that it was very easy to do that.
Exactly,
and,
sir.
Yeah, they have done it, right? They have done it, right? Okay.
Sir,
And with regard to, one thing with regard to this IPR.
One question.
Yeah, I will address. I will take your questions. One thing I want to tell you is that there is no marketing I'm doing for my HRDC, but there is a webinar I have posted in my website. Next week, I think someday, research and publication ethics. I've invited one chief knowledge officer of IIM Trichy. He is very good with IPR, and he is well known for that across the country. He gives talks. I've invited for him for a webinar. If you are interested, you can register and you can participate in that. He is going to talk elaborately about that research and publication ethics. Okay, how we should handle. Sir, Professor, right?
Yes, please, Professor Sundarathan.
Sir,
it is my great privilege to welcome you and to thank you on behalf of all these fellow teachers, and it is really your good fortune that you have such a scholar with you. We are very proud of him as a fellow director of UGC HRDC and one of the prominent universities in South India, that's Bharati Southern University. And Professor Nathan has made a name for his scholarship, for his academic leadership, for his very many qualities. My worthy colleague, Dr. Faiza Basi, had the privilege of meeting you, and she speaks very highly of you. So it is so good that you are in such good company. But Dr. Priyanka Query, how is everything going on, Dr. Priyanka Query?
Namaste, sir. Everything is very nice, sir. Very informative session, sir. और as assistant professor बहुत कुछ सीखने को मिला, sir. Thank you.
Good. Madam, Dr. Lakshmi Saha.
Yes, sir. Today's session was so informative, sir. I'm very happy. It was a happy landing session. And thank you, sir, for all the resource person you have brought. So many knowledge we have. We just gained, sir. Thank you so much.
About Professor Nathan, I can vouch that he is one of the best resource persons. आप बताएं डॉक्टर रेशमा खातून इलाहाबाद यूनिवर्सिटी.
Assalamu alaikum, sir. No, sir. Alia University, Kolkata, sir.
Okay, Kolkata. Yes, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir. And thank you to sir also. Very nice session. And we came to know lot many things on online portal also and like websites also and how we can develop our own content also.
Very great.
Thank you very much,
And the last one, Dr. Mukul Hazarika from Assam. Dr. Mukul.
Yes, sir. Very informative. इस कोर्स की वजह से बहुत कुछ सीखने को मौका मिला. Thank you, sir.
Very good. So, Professor Nathan, from the depth
Yes,
of my heart, once again, thank you. And,
Pleasure is mine, sir.
And let us hope we meet in person and at the UGC to resolve all the problems which we have been facing as director, about which Professor Rahman and Professor Narsimha Lu have been, and you, and of course you have been trying so hard. So, but in the meantime, wish you the best and thank you.
Thank you, sir.
On behalf of everyone. Please
Thank you,
resume.
sir.
Please resume your valuable.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, bye.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your nice words, sir.
So now back to our questions, right? Okay. So I would request those of you who are specifically interested in these IPR issues, you can just think of joining that webinar. Yeah, please.
Hello, sir.
Yes, sir. Amit ji.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you for the nice session you have delivered. A nice session on this, and it is very fruitful session, and we came across a lot of audiobooks and other resources. Sir, my question is: suppose if I want to teach online, so how can I go through Khan Academy?
Can you just repeat that second part 2 of your question, sir? How can I?
Yeah. Hello, sir. Suppose I want to teach online, so
Again, it is muted.
Sir, he was asking about Khan Academy. How
Yes,
will he use?
Okay. Yeah, your Khan Academy, they don't provide space for live classes online, but they will be very happy to have you in the panel of experts for giving video lessons. And they will send you the template and they will give you all the necessary things, how you should produce that video content. And you can give the content to them. They will do the quality check and they will upload it to the portal so that lots and lots of students across the globe will use your content. Okay? But they don't provide any space for live classes like this. They don't do that, right? It's only a web portal giving all video lessons. It's a repository of video lessons made available for free access. Okay, so
Thank you.
you can try if you want space for online classes. wikieducator.org. Okay, that platform you can create an account. And I have listed that in my list that I'm going to show. I have put in that also Wiki Educator, right? They will give you, that's called Wiki Space. They will give you a space for you, right? And earlier it was 3 GB, now up to 5 GB they give you. You can have several classes. You can classify that also, segregate like first BSc, second BSc like that, and give that link to the students and go ahead taking the classes online.
Yes, sir. So I have a question. So you talked about colors of open access, blue, green, yellow, and white. So that I couldn't relate. Somehow I missed, I think. And another question of mine is, if suppose I'm taking some images for my own work. Suppose I'm writing an article or an essay. I'm giving some images from a website. So is there any specific criteria which one I can take or which one I shouldn't take? Is there any rules or is there any problem? I think because I didn't mention any site from where I got some I have loaded previously. I have taken. So that's
just see what's happening on the screen for a while. Okay. So now
Yes, sir.
I am just taking you to a Google image search. This is what your problem is. I'll come to that. I just quickly will do that. So if it is Google image search, this is how Google images. Now I am giving something like photosynthesis. Some topic I am giving. Photosynthesis. Okay. So I am giving. So there is so much that has come here. Okay. And here you see the tools. There is. Can you see? Yeah. Is my screen shared?
Sir, yes, sir.
Yes.
There is so many things have come. You see. Go to these tools. Okay. And then you see size. Any size I have chosen. I can choose larger, medium. Colors I can choose any color. Type, whether clip art or line drawing or GIF. Time. Uploaded what time, and then this part, this is what Dr. Lakshmi Shaga you should focus. Usage rights. Okay, you see here all, then Creative Commons licenses and commercial and other licenses. So if you click on that, so the contents that have been licensed under Creative Commons comes here. So this means you can download all these images and without any citation you can use.
Okay.
And as long as it is only academic and research publication.
Okay.
You cannot sell this content to anybody and make money out of it. But if the commercial and other licenses, see there is another option. Now, this you can make use of, right? After obtaining that, it will be CC by RD. That option will be there. That means you have to get permission from Shutterstock.com, or the watermark will be there already embedded. You cannot avoid it.
Watermark will be there.
Okay. So when the problem comes is, if you purposefully take that image to Photoshop and edit that watermark, okay, then the Shutterstock or any organization can sue you and take you to the court. Okay. So this is how you should see in the Google image search. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, sir.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, a full-fledged workshop can be conducted on whatever I have spoken in these two sessions, right? Okay. So that's what I'm going to do in my MOOCs and OER workshop. Six days of threadbare discussion on all these things. That's what with all demos and practicals. That's what we have planned.
May I ask a question, sir?
Yeah. Yes, please. Yeah.
Sir, I want to know about 4 squadron model, sir. What is the meaning?
Oh, yeah, sir, that will be a long talk. I have to give you a 1.5 hour session on e-content development.
So, sir, the meaning, how can we define 4 squadron?
Yeah, I will choose to do that. Okay, 1 second. Yeah. I'll just show you that. Yeah. Is the screen shared, sir, now?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
this is what is the 4-quadrant approach that Swayam takes, sir. Any content developer has to provide content in these 4 quadrants. Okay, that quadrant 1 will be e-tutorial. That will have PDFs, PPT slides, lecture notes, any games, any screen, any flashcards, anything. And quadrant 2 will be multimedia embedded video contents. I repeat that word, that phrase, multimedia embedded video content. It's not recorded lectures. Okay. After recording the lecture, appropriate multimedia integration has to be done to make it an e-module, right, in quadrant 2. And in quadrant 3, you will have different threads for discussion, right? For instance, if the module is on environmental pollution, then there will be one submenu for discussion on air pollution, water pollution, noise pollution, like that. So the students can click on that and take part in that discussion related to that particular segment. And then the 4th quadrant will be about assessment. Assessment will have self-test, quiz, and assignments, right? So all these aspects will be there in that 4 quadrants, right? Okay. And if you go to that UGC MOOCs portal, you can download the Swayam guidelines. And almost about 7.5 pages, 8 pages, there is an elaborate discussion about how these 4 quadrants have to be developed for the content creation. Okay. So you can do this, right? So, but if I have to give you a lot of inputs with regard to this, it will take, because it's a workshop usually. Content development.
Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. Very informative, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
So thank you, Dr. Senthil Nathan.
Thank you. I know, right? You're all getting hungry, right? And you have to get ready for the afternoon session, right? So thank you, madam, Dr. Faiza, madam. It was a pleasure to interact with such vibrant participants, right? Okay.
Same here. Thank you. You have a good day, and I will meet you maybe on 24th. Virtually, we will meet.
Yeah.
Your idea of conducting a complete workshop on MOOCs and e-content is wonderful.
That's
We will certainly trouble you for that also.
Sure. Right. Okay.
Have a good day.
Thank you. Thank you, my dear friends. It is a pleasure.
Participants, Muharram holidays today, tomorrow. Yes, 18th and 19th we will be closed. 2 days of Muharram leave for you, and on 20th we will meet again. Thank you, Professor Senthil.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you,
madam.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
One commitment to sir. Your voice is very melodious.
Oh, thank you very much.